recording in progress.
Andrew Maxwell, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Thank you. It's wonderful to be here. Great to talk to my cousins back in Ireland.
Oh, Mother Mary, if you could see me now.
I loved it. I loved every minute. Oh, mate. We recently, myself and my buddy Glenn Wool, a really funny Canadian comic, have started our own podcast called Egypts of the World.
Egypts of the World, all right.
Egypts of the World. And every week we find the greatest concentration of Egypts, and we talk about, celebrate them, because we're all Egypts, like, rather than, there's too much, like, out there of they're wrong and we're right. Why are they so wrong? Why is the other side always so wrong about things? And why, you know what I mean? Whereas, we're all Egypts. But this week's episode, we did a solid half an hour about Joe Biden's visit to Ireland. Oh, so much gold.
Yeah.
So many wonderfully ridiculous moments. How at the start of it, everybody in Ireland was super snippy and banging out. Why are we constantly, we're so embarrassing. Why do we have to kiss everybody's bottoms and blah, blah. But the minute the right wing in America and the right wing in the British press were slagging off Joe Biden in Ireland, it was like, you leave Joe alone.
He's one of us.
Oh, so great.
I think we were slowly charmed by it too,
Listen, the thing is, I'm genuinely a massive politics nerd. Always have been. And I followed Joe Biden's career since his very first run. His very first run for the presidency was derailed because somebody wrote a speech for him, his big speech. And it turned out it was copy and paste from Neil Kinnock. And that's what derailed him in the late 80s. So he's been around. He was the very youngest ever senator in American history. He was seated at 30. He won the seat at 29.
Second youngest, I think he said when he was.
I
was listening. Well, I was listening.
There was probably somebody way back in the day. But the point is, he's a world-class retail politician. The old school grip and grin.
Yeah.
He's a grip and grin merchant. Yeah. So
he loved it. He loved it. It was so choreographed. It was so choreographed. The pageantry was fantastic. The cathedral behind all lit up. I mean, this was just absolutely the shipping out to Boston. Here comes Joe. It was like WWE. Woo! Hey, everybody, woo!
And then just this sprightly old boy just skips down the thing.
He did a bit of running. Like, in fairness to him, for all the sleepy Joe, like, he had a lot of energy. Like, I was like, cool. They're going to use so much of that video and so much of the content in his re-election campaign. No question.
Listen, he has passed more legislation than any American president since LBJ. So there's nothing sleepy about him. He's just, he is, for an old boy, like and the legislation he has passed is going to change the environmental history of the entire planet.
Well, I hope I will trust in your non-cynical judgment of Joe's signing of legislation.
Yeah, thank you very much.
I'm not sure I share it, but I'm guessing you know more than I do, which is good.
So we're talking trillions has been placed on renewables, and they've written this legislation in a way that it makes it impossible for the Texans not to want to get involved. It's huge.
What I liked about it too, and I think it's a fair point to note, is that we sort of take it for granted that there's Irish presidents and they're going to give it the whole Irish thing. That's not necessarily, like, I've got a little boy who's 17 months, and when he's my age, it might be like, remember when presidents of America used to come to Ireland and it used to be a thing? That might not be a thing anymore. So I kind of was like, let's enjoy this while we have it. Here's literally the leader of the free world, and he's rocking up in Ireland, pretending like his speech to the joint house of the Oireachtas is the greatest moment of his life and a fulfillment of his mother's dream. Like, hang on, I think you're already the president. I think that might be a bigger notch on the belt there, buddy.
And when you look at the joint Oireachtas, you go, this is probably the same size as the Senate chamber of South Dakota, right? I mean, it's not. It's basically the population of Nebraska. There's no reason other than just he really, really wanted to be in Ireland.
Yeah.
There's no need. I mean, anything they want from Ireland, we're just going to give them anyway.
Yeah.
He
wanted a jolly round the country and a bit of a jaunt, and Chinooks flying here. And I saw them flying over. I spent Easter in my mum's new mobile home in Clogherhead with all the kids around, and we were like, look it up. And we thought it was actually him. They were obviously testing the route to Cooley. where he went off to meet Rob Kearney and congratulate him for bashing up the Black and Tans.
That's a great moment as well. Like, I mean, and
even when he
like,
referenced it the next day, though, that's what I enjoyed when he kind of knowingly kind of was like the All Blacks, and everyone's like, "Oh, you got it right this time, Joe."
But also, like, people, like, there was such a hullabaloo in the right wing press about it. Go, who's the victim in this? Black and Tans? Like, who cares? Like, I don't care about the feelings of either the All Blacks or the Black and Tans.
Andrew, we're chatting because you're coming to play the Everyman in Cork on Friday, 28th of April. I hope it'll be a fantastic show and that many people listening to us chat turn up and put their bums on seats and laugh along at the funny things you say.
Yes, that's the plan. So now this is an unusual show here now. And I know it can work because I did it for a month at the Edinburgh Fringe last year and I did it in Galway at the comedy festival there in the autumn. So the show's called Krakatoa Day.
Wait a minute. Is that the volcano that blew up in Indonesia in the mid-1800s and caused a blackout in Europe? And no.
Yes.
Yes,
Dave.
This is where Frankenstein came from.
Actually, no, that was Mount Tambor.
Oh,
which happened in sort of 1812, creating the year of no summer.
Yes.
Hence Frankenstein and
Dracula.
Yes, Dracula.
Yeah.
They were all there. They were all there at Lake Geneva. That's right. It was a group bet of who could come up with the best.
Shelley, and they all sort of writing these dark Gothic novels. Yeah. Because basically there was no sunlight for weeks on end. It would get to you, as we know in this country.
Oh yeah, it'll get you slowly.
It'll get you that stuff. Right, Krakatoa. Okay, but this also had a major impact on the world.
100%. It was Krakatoa when it exploded in this sort of late Victorian period. It was the first global event. At that stage, there was telegraph wires and mass printing presses. And at the time, it became for a brief time, the word became an exclamation. People used to say it like Krakatoa. Right? So that's where the idea came from. So in the show, basically, I have an interactive volcano on stage, Dave. Behind me, there is a projection of a volcano. I've got smoke machines and a sound system.
You just wanted a smoke machine. You were like, what can I come up with that needs a smoke machine?
2 smoke machines, Dave.
Krakatoa.
So basically, the premise of the show is it's a normal stand-up comedy show. I have an hour of stand-up for you. My brothers from other mothers in Cork. I have an hour of stand-up for you. But on top of that, at any point during the show, and I'm dressed up as Magnum PI.
What?
I'm in Hawaii.
Magnum PI, although I like the pun.
Yes. And I'm in a pair of tiny cut-off Daisy Duke shorts and a Hawaiian shirt.
Is that the reason for the Magnum PI, the pun?
No, that was just,
No, sorry, that's not Magma PI. Apologies. Magnum PI. Apologies.
It's just a general, tropical Hawaiian theme.
Okay.
And the basic premise of the show is at any point in the show, for whatever reason they see fit, if anybody shouts Krakatoa, the volcano explodes.
I'm presuming people shouted a lot.
It depends on the night. It depends on where the moon is in the sky, because some nights in Edinburgh, it was madness.
This feels like a dangerous thing to impose on an Irish audience who will shout Krakatoa the whole way through the show. If
they want to, they can. Because the point is it's a physical metaphor for the chaotic and unpredictable world we live in, Dave.
Okay.
So, and also it unleashes an insane amount of crack in the room. One night, this is one of my best nights, favorite nights ever, for 30 years of being a stand-up. One night in Edinburgh last year, I was doing some jokes about Scottish politics because Scottish politics makes Irish politics look normal. It's properly chaotic. And a guy got really offended in the room and he stood up and went, "I've paid my money. This is outrageous. This is not funny." And needless to say, somebody just went, "Krakatoa," and drowned him out, right? To which he started.
Is there a dude at side stage?
With I've got a button.
Oh, you've got it.
No. There's somebody, the tech guy at the back's got a button.
Yeah.
The minute somebody shouts Krakatoa, the explosion goes off and the smoke machines go off.
Okay, sorry, I cut the story. So your man does this, Krakatoa blows.
He really starts losing it, right? He goes, "It's not funny. You're all being," he shouted it out, the entire audience, "You're all being silly."
At a comedy gig.
Krakatoa! Right, every time he started shouting, somebody else shouted Krakatoa, and we were all just weeping. Like there's a guy shouting at people for laughing at a comedy gig. It just unleashes a type of, primary school level of humor, of just raw silliness.
Totally.
And obviously I have an hour of actual comedy for, but that's what it's about.
So is there anything about Krakatoa in it and historically what happened and the impact of it? No.
I've tried to do all that at the start of the show, basically the brief précis that I gave you.
Just so you know, here's what it was, this is what happened, and that's all you need to know. Let's get on with the show. Every time you say it, I'm going to blow it.
That's it. And that's all they need or want. They don't want to know anything else. The minute you tell them that they can shout Krakatoa, the audience is like, oh.
There'll be children named Krakatoa.
Be great. It will be a great Irish kid's name, wouldn't it? Krakatoa Maxwell.
Just in case anyone looks at this from further afield, Thursday 27th, Roisin Dove. Friday 28th in the Everyman here in Cork, Saturday 29th in Liberty Hall, Dublin, Saturday 30th of April, Limelight 1 in Belfast. That sounds like fun, Mr. Andrew Maxwell. Thank you for the chats. Fantastic beard.
Thank you very much.
Magnificent, I would say.
I think it looks like I'm agitating for land reform in the 1880s.
Yeah, very Parnell.
Very Parnell.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Young Islanders. We will have a parliament again. Yes. Home rule or no rule.
Yes. I up until recent I do a winter beard, so I could actually have competed with you. I still think you would have won out on the magnificent stakes.
It is. Well, you never know. It was when 2019 I did I'm a Celebrity, and I'd always kept a bit of stubble. The wife always liked a little bit of designer stubble, and then when I was in the jungle, obviously I couldn't shave, and as I was reunited with my wife on the rope bridge live on ITV, first thing she whispered in my ear was, "You're keeping the beard." I was like, right up.
Woo!
Right up.
If it works for you, baby, I'm keeping the beard.
Exactly. We've had another kid since then, so clearly the beard is working.
I just want to finish up by saying, I mean, there could be many of these clips, but what did I see you getting stuck into someone on a panel show? Was it about Irish history? Was it about Biden? Was that too recent?
That was it. It just keeps getting recirculated. There was a guy about 4 years ago. There's a show called Politics Live on BBC Two. It's an afternoon show. And I was sat beside a guy called Brendan O'Neill, who's sort of a right-wing mouth for hire. Brexiteer and every other a harumpher. If there's somebody who needs harumphing done, this guy shows up. He's posh in English, who thinks genetically, because he's of Irish descent, he can genetically know Ireland. And he was just kind of guffing on about Brexit. And,
who does he think he is, Biden?
Yeah, but the thing is, this poor, he's a pothole of a man. This guy, Brendan O'Neill, he tried to convince me that he knew, and I went, 85% of people in Ireland are very happy to be in the EU. And he was like, well, I think that's quite soft and that could turn quite quickly. And I went, how do you know that? Because do you have any family actually in Ireland? And he went, yes. And I went, and they're pro-Brexit, are they? And he went, yes. Where are they? In the west of Ireland, and they're pro-Brexit. And he went, yes. And I went, well, that's a queer fish, because, I'm sure there is Irish conservatives. And he went, no, they're not conservatives. In fact, my family weren't even working class. They're in fact former peasants.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And I was drinking a glass of water as he said it, and I almost spewed it across the table, because and I know, and everybody who's listened to this, like, I know many cultures have reclaimed what were once slurs against their peoples, but there's nobody in Ireland that's referring to themselves as a peasant.
What even is a peasant? Sorry, Mr. O'Neill. You know what I mean? Like, what world are you in that there's such a thing as peasants?
Peasants. I know, like
serfs.
Serfs. Oh well, my family, and I was I'm sure.
My family won their freedom.
Isn't like, who to win a political argument? Who calls their own family peasants? Like, just so wonderfully stupid. Needless to say, he was in the latest episode of Egypts of the World.
Indeed he was. They were mad in the UK. I know I said that was going to be the last question. It's turned out not to be, because they were kind of going like, they're all giving it this, like, Biden's as Irish as I am. But like, what how much do they want? Like, his mother and his mother's father and mother, like, his Irish, but they were saying he's ignoring the English roots that he has. But like, there was some line that he said something about they'd always say about my father, don't mind him, his problem is he's English, and so on and so forth. He was obviously brought up in a household that was very pro-Irish, and he's entitled to be.
Yeah, whatever. It's like Bing Crosby's half of it in English American. Is Bing Crosby's dad's side of the family were actually on the Mayflower, but he was raised by his Irish American man.
Oh yeah, and then they were annoyed by saying that his father was saved by having a Hannity from Galway on the mother's side or something like that or whatever. And it's like,
yeah, it's like wow. I mean, it's like it's just sour. It's just very, very, very sour. The fact of the matter is, we're a very small country that is a superpower when it comes to soft power. Yes. I over the years I've worked quite a bit for Discover Ireland, and I remember speaking to the chief of Discover Ireland, going, "Oh, every year we get every other country to light their famous thing up green on St. Patrick's Day." I'm like, "Oh, great! What have you got?" And he was like, "Oh, this year we've got the Brandenburg Gate. We've obviously got the Eiffel Tower. We've got we've got the Empire State Building, and this year we've got the Great Wall of China."
And we're aiming for the International Space Station. Yeah, we're wondering, can you project onto the moon?
Yeah, that's it. You know what I mean? I mean, and that's just particularly, you know what, there's 8.5 million British people of Irish descent who are eligible for passports. So that means one Irish grandparent. And then going back to the famine generation, which Joe's family will have been from, it's even more, right? Yeah. So there's not that, but within the Brexity right-wing press, the idea that particularly post-Brexit, that Ireland has got even more soft power out of this, out of their stupid decision. It just pops their noggin clean off.
There's some lad on Twitter called Irish Monk, and I think he or someone else is doing the digging to find out who of unionists in the north are using their Irish passports on their foreign trips and on their and there's like all of these voice pieces against all of that, and they all have an Irish passport and they're all using it on regular occasions because it's much more useful.
100%, absolutely. And there's loads. There was a couple of Tory MPs are using them and openly using them.
Welcome aboard, boys. Come on in. There's a Kaylee out the back and there's a pig in the parlor. Woo! Go on,
I'll tell you what. There you go. Here's a pint of here's Smithwick's, Murphy's, Beamish. Knock yourself out. Have one of them. You're not letting
0-0 if you're looking for it.
Yeah, exactly. You can drive yourself home afterwards. you can come in, but we're not letting you have the land again. How about that?
Andrew, nice one. Thanks for the chats, man.
No bother, Dave.
We'll see you in Cork soon.
100%.